Well, technically 3 more now that you sent me that other thing. Let me set that up real
What
quick
did I send
here.
you? Oh,
Well, Charlie Brown's Revolution, welcome, welcome. One Guyan. Ayan, how are you? Welcome, welcome to the stream. Warren, like this new time and day. I do too. Thank you. Thanks for
yeah.
everything. Thank you so much for everybody chatting and hanging. I think we're well over 100 chats. Thanks, Restream, for telling me that.
Woo.
uh, Diet, nutrition, lifestyle, early treatment have been buried as the in the BS narrative. Absolutely. Again, vitamins, vitamin D, zinc, okay, and taking
Yeah.
multivitamins on a daily basis, and regular exercise, which you couldn't necessarily do as well in the pandemic. By the way, have you seen what's happened to Peloton stock, which is all of a sudden
Yes, it
apparently
has.
gone into the tank?
Yep. Yep.
Right, right.
Yes,
So,
it have. They're a piece of shit company anyway. So, but
all right,
you know,
let me do a thumbnail.
I digress.
Ah, thumbnail. Indie mean. The rent is too damn high. I don't want to. I don't want to
The rent is too damn
blast out
high.
your ears. But you actually sent me something earlier today. But I had already planned this story a couple days ago. Shout out to Josanna from Revolutionary Blackout Network. She's terrific. She's Brazilian. She had actually shared this through an app called Newsbreak. Kristen Walters had written this up, and this is literally a woman in Florida who got an increase of $27.90 to $3,900 per month in 1 year.
Okay. Where? Palm Bay.
Boynton
Yeah.
Beach.
Boy. Oh God. Like, yes, this is condominium high-rise renting, right? This
Boynton
is
Beach.
yeah.
And
This is
Boynton Beach is like an hour and a half north of West Palm. Like, that's not
yeah.
the
This is
desirable area
they build
necessarily
giant concrete
whatsoever.
zero
Right.
blocks that
Right. I mean,
fucking
look,
point
that's
towards the water, so that the people who were living in
well,
the
that's
city
just an
now
apartment
can't
rental, but
see.
that's not that building.
Yes, but yes, I'm just fucking complaining about condominiums in Florida. But yes, um, renters in St. Petersburg took to the streets today. To when was this?
Well, wait, you skipped
Uh,
a really big one. An 80-year-old
oh,
woman living in
an
a
8-year-old.
one-bedroom rental. She had her
Yeah,
rent
in Palm Bay
doubled.
reported that. Yeah. Oh God, 6 to 12. Yeah.
80 years old. What's she gonna do? What's she gonna go out and get a second job? Is she gonna go out and get a job? She's not secure. She's on Social Security. Come on. You gotta go
I
be
mean,
a
she could
greeter
get on
at
that
Walmart. Yeah,
Only Grams account.
only grams. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so grossed out
You
by
know,
the
they
thought of
just
that.
bake cookies.
Sorry.
They just bake cookies for each other, and they might knit you a thing. It's just it's granny rentals.
That's
You
a
know,
sweater
but
per se.
yep, yep. But
Jesus.
yeah. So
Okay.
even though she lived for many years, she now has to look for a new home because she's on Social
She's
Security.
got to pay to move at 80
Oh,
years old.
oh God, on Social Security.
Uh
Oh
huh. Uh huh.
fuck.
All right.
Oh God,
Renters
and
took to the
like
streets to
St.
protest rental
Petersburg,
rates that went up
the
it
rental
just
rates
went up
just went up more than
$400 a month, like
400 per month. Yeah, like
35%.
that's in Tampa. Tampa used
Now,
to be not that fucking
well,
expensive to live. Yeah, like
wait. Pair this with
yeah.
the fact that BlackRock and all these major hedge funds are
Mhm.
buying up all the
Or now
properties
buying up
and they're turning everybody into
foreclosures.
renters.
Yep,
Where are you going to go?
yep, yep.
Where are you going to go?
So
What's the
Florida
plan?
accepted 40 million in federal funding for emergency rental assistance. Really, right? Just fucking turn down the rent, fucking pump. God, we don't need to quit taking people's money. Like, no one's paid enough, and that's part of it, right? It's the whole thing. It's like people can't afford groceries in the middle class level, so they make their rents higher, and it fucks over the people at the bottom who couldn't afford it in the first place.
Right.
Like they already couldn't afford it.
Well, and
Yeah,
and and to pair with that, you sent me today from the Associated Press, who I hate to amplify, but I got to amplify because they did a decent thing here. Rents reach insane levels with no end in sight. You love
No
seeing
end
that
in
from the
sight.
Associated Press. Like supposedly,
Press.
you know, the down the
They can see
middle,
the dumb shit.
like
Yep.
fact-based news thing. Yeah, that
And here we are. Miami apartment as a tiny kitchen, cracked tiles, warped cabinets, no dishwasher, and hardly any space. Sounds like a Miami apartment, right? But Giara was fine with apartment shortcomings. It was all part of a 32-year-old graduate student in South Florida. She reasoned, and she was happy to live there for a few more years as she finished her marketing degree. Yeah, a classic Miami thing. She's going to probably UF and,
Yep,
you
there you go.
know,
University of Miami, right?
yeah, U. Right? I thought that was insane, said Giara, who decided to move out. Am I supposed to stop paying for everything else I have going on in my life just so I could pay rent? That's unsustainable.
Yep.
Yeah, Giara is hardly alone. Rent had exploded across the country, causing many to dig deep into their savings, downsize to subpar units, or fall behind on payments and risk eviction now that the moratorium is ended. I don't see
Hmm.
anyone on the fucking steps of Congress with that shit anymore, do I? In the 50 largest U.S. metro areas, median rent rose an astonishing, I'm just going to round up to 20, 19-20% from December 2020 to December 2021, according to a Realtor.com analysis of properties within 2 or fewer bedrooms, and nowhere was the jump bigger than a Miami metro area, where the median rent exploded to
Jeez.
$2,850.
A
Oh
50%
God,
increase in
50%
one
higher than the
year.
previous.
What are you gonna
That's
do? Okay, so
insane.
wait, then they keep going again, and I know JB was talking about Orlando and how much rent is going up
Lando.
in Orlando, 25%
Yeah,
spike, and this is again happening
yeah.
all over Memphis. It's really funny, but
Memphis.
I was actually looking when pandemic
Yeah,
started. I started to look out of New Jersey and where else would I want to go that had similar amenities where it would
yeah,
actually be an upgrade and it would make sense for me to go. And there was a suburb of
yeah,
Memphis, and I'm not surprised to see that. Again, you see all the hot, younger, hip, growing cities: Vegas, Austin, Memphis, San Diego, Tampa. Not surprising to see rents going up in all these different places. Uh, may seem small. Biggest rental increase in 20 years.
20. I mean, are you going to expect a 50% increase in your raise in a year? No. So
Yeah, I'm
you're
not getting pay
cutting into
raises of 50%.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, what the fuck? What do they expect's going to happen from this? Like, oh God.
Well, they don't
Okay,
care.
inflation
They don't care. They're being paid by the
7.5.
companies that are buying the houses,
Right,
and
and
what they expect.
this isn't even an inflation, right? Because the inflation only jumped 7.5 from January,
Right.
right? So we're talking about like, this is just
Right.
people
Housing.
being
Right.
greedy,
Housing.
essentially.
Well, housing costs are contributing to the overall inflation number,
How you
whereas other
like it.
other
Right.
costs are not going up as much. But housing costs are
Yeah.
going up substantially. Food costs
Well,
are
and
going up
also
substantially.
upkeep, water, your utilities are going up across the board, right? Your both internet, cable, all that shit's going up. You know,
I mean, it's
tons of
something I
stuff.
would honestly. It's something I was talking to my wife about tonight. You know, we were talking about like going out to dinner and why things are costing. I'm like,
Yeah,
well, let me tell you, there's not a labor shortage, but they're finally having to pay people like actual living wages, and they're passing the costs
wages.
on to us because it's not. They're not letting it hurt their profitability. So they're passing
No.
those costs on to consumers. We're not being paid
Yeah.
anymore, but things are costing more across the board. I have to remember that Sabby the other night was talking about how her average food bill was about 180 bucks, and Eric can
Oh yeah.
confirm this.
Yep.
And now it's up to 300 bucks.
And that's doing pretty good.
She's like,
Yep.
I didn't make an extra $120, and if I wasn't married, we'd be just over the poor,
Oh
just over the
yeah.
poverty line, which is just where you don't qualify for any government assistance and any type of
Yeah.
support. Okay,
Where my parents have been all the time. Yep.
all right,
Just
and
right
you
there in the struggle.
struggle constantly,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and you never get a break. And then when the government does give you a break, it ends up in the form of like a tax cut that you have to earn X amount to even be eligible for in the first place, and they end up falling short of that.
Yeah.
Okay, again, rental vacancy rates during the fourth quarter fell to 5.6%. So everybody's renting because they've got to find somewhere to live, right? But rents are too damn high. Heat, hot water, not included, $2,700. Oh, that's a joke. An igloo.
Jesus.
It's a joke. It was a joke. Construction crews, right? Trying to bounce back from material labor shortages, of course.
Yeah,
Right.
because fucking plywood is through the roof. Like everything's fucking so expensive. You can't afford to do anything. Like there's weird laws across Florida since the housing crisis happened to make sure that people can't use a certain amount of money themselves to try to fix their fucking houses. Like you're, you
Look at
know,
that. We talked about
Yep.
BlackRock and the hedge
Yep.
funds. Look, record 18%
Yep.
of home purchases were by in Q3 were by businesses or
Or by
institutions,
real estate's buying it all up.
and
You know,
they're all
you
buying
you
it
know,
in the South.
you have a bunch of like you know, I know in South Florida, which there is a lot of growth, and there has been, you know, Naples used to be one of the highest growing cities in the country, let alone Florida, right? And you know, you're talking about multiple $1 million homes and stuff like that. You know, you're talking about they used to just cut up the fucking forest that was still there. It was all parsed out, owned already by a real estate company. You called them, they gave you the land, you fucking, you know, like little band-aid lots of 6.5 by like 2 acres,
Right?
you know. So, you know, and then they would just stand handing them out to like, that's why like there was tons of golf courses being like prepared and put on the books, and you know, and then after that, like the housing crisis fucking happened. You're talking about like who they still all owned all the real estate, like they kept all of it, you
Yep.
know. Like people, whoever had the money got like. So if you were a home buyer and you tried to do that and you refinanced and you managed to finally afford property and build a generic house on it, and you know you got screwed over, right? But none of the people who just bought up all fucking the land to build a fucking gated community they never had, right? Now they're renting all that shit out for the fucking highest of prices.
Now,
So
again, what this is saying is that only 2 states actually have statewide rent control laws, while 3 other states, including the state I live in, New Jersey, has laws allowing local governments to pass rent control. So, New York City, for example, has limited rent control, and there are certain areas in like Patterson and Elizabeth and Newark, etc., and Trenton and Camden, etc., and Atlantic City that they will allow for rent control there as well because of the income in the area. And then they'll also allow for lower sales taxes to spur economic growth in the zone and business interest. But so again,
right.
in Tucson, mayor's office said it's been deluged with calls from residents worried about rent hikes after a California developer recently bought an apartment complex catered to older people and raised rents by more than 50%, forcing out many on fixed incomes. Nobody's doing anything about this. They're just doing nothing about this. And what can you do?
Yep.
I mean, you've got to have some type of local and state and federal government collaboration come together
Yeah.
to acknowledge that this is a systemic problem.
Problem.
That these private equity firms and hedge funds need to be stopped from purchasing all of these houses and jacking up
And they
these
need to give
rates.
some away.
Okay,
Yeah.
there needs to be some type of a law passed about how much you can potentially maximum raise somebody's rent in a given year if and then on top
Right.
of it, that still needs to be brought in front of a board and have those costs and increases justified. A rent control board,
You know.
which have
I-
you
Right. Well, and I think you talk about like Americans. I think inanely like it, like innately like moonshot stuff.
Yep.
You talk about we're gonna go to the fucking moon. They're like, oh fuck yeah, let's do that shit. Right? Talk about a moonshot. Hey, let's get everyone in the country who needs a house, a fucking house to live in. Like, you know, you talk about doing something like that where no one's fucking having to rent, no one's having to like worry about the rent doubling, and you know, like this to me is part of the people
Yeah.
are exploiting you needing a roof over your head.
Right. And not only that,
You
but
know,
what do you think that does to an 80-year-old's heart condition?
heart condition, yeah, or any of that. You know, uh, it just baffles me that you know we could easily pull that off in this country in like a year if like
Yeah.
you know, if we actually focused on that stuff, we focused on what actually would help people right now. You
And
know,
there's so much we can
like
do. And that's again like
we
electoral
got a
politics is only
gigantic
one part of the
military.
equation.
We have a gigantic military with perfectly able-bodied people that could easily come home and start building houses. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Well, we need
like
to train
if
them to be
ordered to, they would
contractors.
follow the right. Yeah, but we already do that. Military already does that. They got there's people that got to build barracks, like, you know.
Yeah, but those are like
So
temporary things. Those aren't like houses that America,
sure,
yeah,
how many people you better take one?
craftsmanship I'm talking about. Anyway,
Right. Sure.
I got one more story
Yeah. I mean,
tonight.
share those resources.
We're already
Go ahead.
an hour and a half.